And I came up with this shape here, this key shape. Sorry, it's all jumbled. Okay, this key shape here. And I want to show you exactly how, I sort of like summed it up. Like this is now, like I just prepared this shape before the lesson to just to help you visualize that shape, and not just describe it. But of course, it was more organic, I just sort of, I realized what I was doing, and then I just kept doing it. But for the sake of an example, I want to show you exactly how it started actually with the eye. Sorry, let me actually duplicate that so I don't lose my first shape. Okay. You see the eye here is this shape, more or less, right? It's this idea of a... shouldn't have moved that here. Okay. To, to show you again, like this idea of, this bulbous sort of like expansion on the side, and then a sharper kind of severe comeback. There's something, graphic design, it's all about, the language of shapes, what makes a shape impactful, and in which way it makes it impactful. What's and in this case, like this shape is sort of reminiscent of a predator's eye, sort of, and it's also reminiscent of a let me reduplicate that. It's reminiscent of the jaw of a wolf, like this, not of a wolf, but of any predator. You have this big like, bulky area here that contains all the chewing muscles, like that connects to the, we'll see very soon, to the top of the head, and give all this chewing power, and that contrasts with the relatively thin and a blade-like, jaw itself. This sharper jaw, and I think this is what creates this sort of this sort of contrast of shape that is overall contained within a triangle. Like it's basically a triangle, right? It's just sort of subdivided triangle, right? But it's subdivided in a way that is subconsciously, I think, at least to me, reminiscent of all these ideas, of this predatory eye, of this I don't know, something about the jaw, like of this, like it really helped when I realized that. It sort of helped me design the rest of my character, because not only that fit with the side of the jaw and the sort of power that we can deduce from that, but it sort of helped me realize that what's cool about like this sort of Anubis kind of ears is also this shape here. You see what I mean? Let me, of course, stretch. Not everything needs to be exactly the same proportions, right? But the principle is the same. Duplicate. I didn't do that. This is just in my mind's eye, but for the sake of, making things clear, I'm doing this in front of you. I'm showing you exactly, how I doubled these shapes and reused over and over this shape, throughout my character. And so, okay, let me see my notes, because there's a few specific points that I want to talk about. Yeah, okay. This is about Ilinka. Ilinka, if you remember, before, like in one of our last hangouts, you were asking me like one of the things that is the most daunting at the beginning, right? Especially when it's your own design, is what process to follow, right? When you're sort of insecure with your own design skills, and that's, I just saved that in my notes, because it's something I really want to mention, and I guess I mentioned it after the fact, because I already went through kind of detailing how I went about my thing, and how I think you can also benefit from this sort of a slow, steady approach, and iteration, being gentle with yourself, just going on, just sleeping on it. But this sort of, like, to sum it up, it's this process that helped me conquer my own insecurities, because yeah, we all go through it. If it's challenging, if it's a new subject to you, and if you have a tight deadline, and if you're gonna try to explain this to somebody, like I'm doing, it's super scary. Like it's really a challenge, anyway. So yeah, yeah, so that's about it for this shape. yeah, like this is like a sort of a graphic I did to sort of explain, you know, like the contrast between this big shape that collects and bulks on the side and the longer, sharper thing. But I think I made my point. Okay. And so when we, you know, about the topic of shape design, I'm not, you know, this is just, I'm not going to just describe to you the shape I found, but I'm going to actually try to, you know, let you know the sort of key, you know, mantras, these sort of like principles that I repeat in my head over and over again as I'm sketching. And these are the following three, right? First of all, does this tell the story that I want to tell? And by extension, what story do I want to tell, right? I want the werewolf to be this scary guy. I'm already starting imagining, yeah, it's going to be looming in a creepy, super strong way, you know, over the swamp, you know, of the briefing. And I'm like, yeah, so definitely, like, I wanted this sort of like absolutely bestial, you know, exaggerated, stretched features. And, you know, this sort of to keep this story in mind, at least a proto story, you know, doesn't need to be super developed. Just this mood, at least, just a mood, lets you discriminate pretty clearly between what's good and what's not. You know, the cute thing of this guy on the left no longer works, you know, and now we're more like into yeah, just this sort of bestial. I didn't even do the pupils yet, and I think it's even more unrelatable. There's no soul, like it's just a monster, right? It could be even like an undead sort of, like, you know, with this pale eyes sort of monster. But anyway, first point, the story, right? Second point, is there enough size variety from one feature to another? And that's what we saw, you know, with the this thing here, these shapes, right? Like I made sure that as I reused the sort of key shape, I stretched it in different ways, and it was not like too even, you know, because one of my my early weaknesses at my first job was to draw mid-sized shapes everywhere, because I was too shy to make risky decisions and be criticized. But pretty quickly, my art director criticized me for just that, and he encouraged me to try crazy stuff. And so I encourage you now to do the same, you know, especially Mofei, with Sketch Arts, and Anthony. You are still on the cautious side of shape design, you know. And just from the werewolf, you know, sketches and compositions that I saw, Sergio, Emily, Holly, Piston, and Cleston, you are more on a daring, you know, kind of, you know, you're on the right way, I think. So keep doing what you're doing, and you know, constantly to just keep on with the second point, the size variety. You know, constantly scratch your head to identify what makes a good design. You know, you don't have to buy books, but like Pinterest, ArtStation, whatever. What makes a good design? You know, good designers like Baldi Conine, for example, have very dramatic and impactful size and shape variety in their works. For example, Baldi's demons will always have huge, not always, but sometimes have huge horns and small, sharp face, bulky shoulders, very narrow waist, long legs, etc. You know what I mean? Like nothing is too, you know, it's everything has its own point, and tells its own information and contrasts with the other things. Everything is special in its own way, is what I want to say. So, okay, tell the story. Is there enough size variety? And third point, is the anatomy believable? Not only when it comes to feature. Let me stop that. Sorry, hide that. And okay, here. Is the anatomy believable? Not only when it comes to feature, right, but also organic symmetry. Because when it comes to the mouth, the nose, the eyes especially, we are very sensitive to symmetry as a gauge of realism and beauty. If we're off just a little bit, the drawing will lose its appeal. So I want to show you here how to practice. I mean, it's, you know, just practice it really. There's no secret about it, but it's important to practice mirroring. Okay, here. I think you can do that, yep. So mirroring, right? So if you do a detail on one side, like this thing, immediately try to mirror it on the other side and try to anticipate and understand, and this is not just a one stroke and I'm done. Like I promise you, I erased constantly, again and again, erase, resketch, erase, resketch, until you find just the right, a shape that just rolls around, rolls away from the viewer in just the right way, and indicates the right geometry. This is weird. Let me start over. Just the right roll. Even the eyes, let them roll in a way that lets us understand the 3D feeling of it. So and to finish on these 3 mantras, like designing is a game of comparison. You can always use my 3 checkpoints, like the story thing, size variety, and anatomy work. But I'm sure you have your own as well, and I'd like to know what they are, and how we can reinforce them. Let me show you another example of symmetry. I went through, like I had my wolf reference on the side, and it's okay, there's a big canine here, and there's a gap right here, right, for this canine, so it can come here, right? And then there's like a secondary canine, which is very weird. I didn't really know before. I thought wolves just had one canine, right? But actually they have like sort of like minor canine, and then these incisor teeth. And when I did one feature on the side, I was like, okay, how is it going to look like on the other side? So this shape here would not be this. Okay, you have to try sometimes. You just try, see if it looks ugly. This is definitely not. Try the other direction. You can get better at this by comparing curve, like by drawing with curves and alternating the direction of the curves. So if at first you try this and you see it's ugly compared to this one, you erase it and you try another direction. Okay, that's better, but it needs to be curved more like this. You know what I mean? Like use curves and just alternate one direction and another, and you'll find, eventually it's a matter of patience, but you'll figure it out. And if you have to, use guides. Anthony, that's one thing that you were asking, for help before, how to gauge, if like the symmetry, especially of the eyes. I remember, in a previous session, and my thing, when I'm sort of like having trouble, I just draw a line and another, and then I'm like, okay, I have these 2 lines to play in between, So it's gonna be, it's easier to see, exactly the limits of your features. It works better like this. So, and you can use lines for anything, anything you have to compare 2 symmetrical features with. Anything, the ears, the teeth, anything. So that's it. And also keep in mind, though, at this early stage, if it's not like perfectly symmetrical, don't worry, it's just a design, right? It's not the final product. Let me check the notes. Sorry. Okay, I see that